Arteta, splashing 100 millions on an Aston Villa star. Julian Alvarez already looking for a way out of Atletico. City ready to smash the British transfer record for Elliot Anderson. And Real Madrid laying down the law with Vinicius. All this and much more in today's episode. Before we get into the news, give it a like. It genuinely helps more than you'd think. Done? Let's dive straight in. Manchester City, after 2 years without the Premier League title and life after Pep Guardiola, have decided that modesty gets you nowhere. The citizens are back at the table over Elliot Anderson, and the numbers involved should have Nottingham Forest popping the champagne already. £130 million. And that's not for a finished article. That's for a lad who's meant to fill Rodri's boots in the post-Pep era. The Daily Mail reckons City already had one bid knocked back, when £120 million wasn't enough. Forest are a proud bunch. They want £110 million net, paid up front, with the overall package creeping towards a British record, £130 million. Manchester United sniffed around as well, but they clocked early that this wasn't an auction worth entering and quietly slipped out the back door. So now City have a clear run, and new boss Enzo Maresca sees Anderson as the cornerstone of whatever he's building next. There's method to the madness. Mind. Rodri isn't getting any younger. The injuries keep stacking up, and this is a side that needs someone to plug the gap in midfield. Anderson's your classic box-to-box. Engine, range of passing, the lot. City found a hole the size of the Grand Canyon in the middle of the park once Bernardo Silva left, and sporting director Hugo Viana is convinced Anderson's the man to patch it up. This won't just be a transfer. It'll be a statement to the rest of the football world that City are still happy to throw money at the problem until it goes away. For the British transfer market, that's a new all-time record. Talks are going on behind closed doors round the clock, and the finish line's already in sight. Looks like Hugo Viana's decided to kick things off with the loudest bang the window's seen in years. Barcelona and common sense have been strangers for a while now, but this time they've gone all in anyway. The mood in the Catalan offices is one of pure swagger, like they've found a printing press in the basement of the Camp Nou. Barca have set their sights on Julian Alvarez. The Argentines poured fuel on the fire himself, making it crystal clear his time at the Metropolitano's up. He wants a fresh start, preferably in Blaugrana. Sport report: Alvarez is ready to push the move through, and for Barca, that's a gift from above. It's no longer wishful thinking, it's leverage now. Classic bit of football theatre. This. Player says he's unhappy, buying club acts like butter wouldn't melt. Mind you, the groundwork was laid back on the 27th of May. That's when the Blaugrana brass had a rather productive dinner with people close to the player. They went over the first offer, mapped out the plan of attack, and switched on calculated silence mode. Let Atletico stew in their own juices and come to terms with the inevitable. Madrid are threatening legal action over illegal contact. But in Catalonia, that's about as concerning as rain on the window. Just background noise of doing big business. Barca are putting together a second offer worth £112 million. That's a tidy sum, but it still pales next to the willpower you lot are showing, watching my videos and never once tapping that like button. Honestly, that's a frankly superhuman level of self-control. Let's break it today, purely as an experiment. Yes, they know Atletico have got 130 million price tags stuck to every wall in the building, but they reckon a slightly slimmer envelope of cash will still get Los Colchoneros to the negotiating table eventually. Just got to keep Julian sweet while he's busy at the World Cup. But there's a wrinkle in all this. Atletico, on principle, have dug their heels in. Word is, they'd rather let Alvarez rot in the stands than hand him to a direct rival. They've even started flirting with Arsenal, weighing up Victor Gyökeres as a swap option. Only snag is, Alvarez himself has already turned down PSG, turned down the Gunners, and would turn down Real Madrid too, if they ever rang. He only wants Barcelona, and when a player of that caliber plants his flag, No £431 million release clause is going to save the club from having to negotiate eventually. Laporta's never looked more confident. Somebody in this standoff is going to blink first. In Madrid, something's finally starting to simmer. And no, it's not another dressing room blow-up. It's Vinicius. The Brazilian wants a new deal and wages to match Mbappe's. £30 million a year, plus a loyalty bonus on top. Ever heard of one of those? Basically, cheers for sticking around. Here's another 10 million for your trouble. Perez has never handed one out, not once. But Vinicius, apparently, fancies himself the exception. In public, it's all sweetness. I want to play here for the rest of my career. This is my dream club, the standard press conference script. You know how it goes. Behind the scenes, though dead silence, talks have stalled completely. And according to AS, if the next round of negotiations goes nowhere, Real Madrid will start weighing up alternatives, which means Vinicius could be gone within a year, maybe sooner. So how much leverage does he actually have here? On one hand, he's a genuine top-tier talent, central to the last 2 Champions League wins, with the medals to show for it. On the other, he isn't Mbappe, because Mbappe is Perez's pet project, the untouchable one. And if anyone's getting sold to balance the books, it'll be Vinicius, because frankly, the two of them playing together hasn't quite clicked. They tread on each other's toes. Throw Mourinho into the mix, a manager who lives for defensive discipline and has no time for flair players who won't track back, and suddenly, things look rather precarious. His agents will already be working the phones to Saudi Arabia. PSG are lurking somewhere in the background too. Trouble is, there's barely a handful of clubs in Europe who could actually afford his wages, and Real Madrid know that better than anyone. So they're going to apply the pressure. Word is, they'll try one more round of talks after the World Cup. Sit down, hash it out, and if not, think again from there. The Brazilian himself is keeping stum for now. I'm focused on the national team. We'll talk about everything else later. Sure you are, mate. Mourinho can't stand players who don't put the work in defensively. So whether Vinicius can pull off the same trick again is very much up for debate. All signs point to him being the one who has to budge in the end, because Perez isn't the type of man who lets anyone dictate terms to him, not even the bloke wearing the number 7 shirt. Things are getting messy at Milan. Christian Pulisic, who not long ago was the main reason for smiles around the San Siro, has suddenly started eyeing up New York. New York City FC are reportedly preparing an offer that would make any American's patriotism boil over. Funniest part is, he was supposedly untouchable not that long ago, but reality, as usual, turned out far more ruthless than words. Milan have missed out on the Champions League for the 2nd year running, and for Captain America, that appears to be the final straw. Contract talks over an extension to 2030 went cold a year and a half ago. First, the club dragged their feet. Then Christian himself started having second thoughts. And the end result's been a goalless run since January, only broken in a friendly for his national team. It's pretty obvious the lad needs a change of scenery. Somewhere, he'll be treated like the superhero he thinks he is. New York City, part of the wider City group, are ready to welcome their prodigal son home. Pulisic did come up through their academy before heading off to Europe. MLS clubs aren't usually keen on splashing huge transfer fees, but this one's a special case. Jerry Cardinale and Ruben Amorim still rate him as a key man, but holding on to a player with a short contract is a gamble. You risk losing him for nothing, and in this business, that's a cardinal sin. The player's wage demands aren't helping matters either. Pulisic, buoyed by the American interest, isn't likely to settle for a modest £4 million a year anymore. Rumour has it, he wants more than Rafael Leao, Milan's top earner, who's pulling in £6 million net. Classic deadlock. The club won't go higher, and the player's already mentally strolling round Times Square. Milan fans best start getting used to the idea that their prize asset might soon be trading the Italian opera for something a bit more stars and stripes. Mikel Arteta, it seems, has decided winning the Premier League wasn't quite enough for a happy ending, and now he wants a fresh spark up top. The main targets, Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. The lads had such a breakout year that they're already sketching out attacking moves with him in mind at the Emirates. According to The Guardian, Arsenal are preparing a formal approach, and the price tag here is a staggering £100 million. Yes, for a 23-year-old Englishman. Welcome to modern football, where the prices go up quicker than the grass on the pitch. By the way, if you're one of the regulars here who still hasn't hit subscribe, and that's nearly 80% of you watching, it's like you've been stuck in some never-ending medical exam. Congratulations, you've passed. Hit subscribe and turn the notifications on so you're officially on the books and you won't miss a single upload. Funniest bit is, Rodgers only signed a new 6-year deal with Villa back in November, but that hasn't put anyone off in London. Word is the player's open to the move. What's won Arteta over is his versatility. Midfield, wide, or as the number 10, take your pick. That sort of tactical flexibility could turn the whole attacking pecking order on its head, and that's where the alarm bells start ringing for the old guard. There's already talk behind the scenes that Rodgers arriving spells the end for Gabriel Martinelli, with the club open to offers. Even captain Martin Odegaard, after a tricky season, doesn't look quite so untouchable anymore. Insider Ben Jacobs is in no doubt Morgan could end up at Arsenal. By his account, Aston Villa, Champions League football or not, still need to balance the books, and they're prepared to open talks at £80 million. That's not a release clause, just a starting point in what's going to be a messy bit of haggling. Good news for Arsenal fans though, Morgan could get his medical sorted during the World Cup itself without it interfering with international duty. The lads hit double figures for goals and assists again, and up in North London, they believe his creativity is exactly the cure for that recurring case of final third impotence. Odegaard can wave his arms about all he likes, but Rodgers looks like a far bigger threat to opposition goal. If this deal comes off, Arsenal get themselves a monster capable of dragging them up to the next level.